Hey, hi guys, how are we going? So this lesson we're going to be talking about chemical control, the second part of the endocrine system, and specifically what the details are and what goes on in the endocrine system when you respond to stuff like having too much glucose in your system, or having not enough water in your system, or being overheated, or reacting to stress. So we'll start off by going through what we went through last lesson. We studied homeostasis, and homeostasis is the body's mechanism. It's the process through the endocrine system, through glands and hormones, where it rebalances the body in some way. It goes through a process based on what's happening in the body. There's a disruption in the body, there's an imbalance in the body, and it's the process that goes through releasing hormones, having effects on glands to finally correct the balance in the end. So we went through specifically a couple examples of how the hypothalamus responds to something. It sends a chemical to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland then sends chemical messages, i.e. hormones, in the bloodstream to another section. These hormones cause the gland to release specific hormones in the bloodstream, and then these hormones act on target cells. So it's a process of the hypothalamus going, hey, something's happening, pituitary gland's going, okay, I'll send messages. Messages get sent to another gland. The gland then goes, oh, I'll send some more messages to target cells. And the cells, by cells I mean muscle cells or skin cells or brain cells or whatever. And this process of hormones being released and sending messages is what the endocrine system is about. And eventually you get back to where the body returns to its normal state. Okay, so specifically today we're going to be looking into body temperature. Body temperature, your heat, the heat from your body comes completely, almost completely from metabolism and metabolic reactions. So these metabolic reactions include digestion, respiration, so breathing, the energy you get from your breath, growth and repair. These are some of the chemical reactions that are taking place in your body. Heat is a byproduct of these reactions. So it's your body's source of heat, and there are two different types of animals on the planet. There are animals that get heat by these metabolic reactions. That includes us, all other mammals, and some birds. There are other animals on the planet that either gain heat another way or don't need heat at all for their system to run, like ours do. So ectotherms are animals that gain heat from their external environment, just like lizards. A lizard sitting in the sun, you've probably seen that before, in the hot sun, and he's not moving, he's warming up. He or she is getting energy from the sun, getting warm from the sun to warm up so that it can move its limbs. But fishes, on the other hand, I do not think they need heat in their body. So, the thing with heat in humans and a lot of other mammals as well is that if we get too hot, we get something called heat stroke. Heat stroke can have a whole bunch of worrying symptoms like confusion, restlessness, headaches. It can make you dizzy. If you are overheated for long enough, you can die. So if you're above 40 degrees, if your body, I'm talking about your core body temperature, not your skin, not what it feels like on your skin. Your core body temperature, as it rises above 42, 43 and maintains that temperature for long periods. So when you've got fever, you're around 40, 39, 40. You can die. On the polarized opposite side is that you got hypothermia, when your body is too cold. So if your body's lowering from the 37 degrees that it should be at, lowering and getting colder and colder until it gets about 26, you start getting noticeable drowsiness, severe reduction in response levels. So you can actually have mental effects. It affects your brain at those low temperatures. Eventually you become unconscious, you get dilated pupils, it's hard to read the pulse, so your blood pressure drops, and you appear to be dead, and eventually you actually die. So they're the effects of extreme heat and extreme cold on the body. So the body has to warm itself up and cool itself down in certain situations. So much like a house with a fan, your body sweats, and the evaporation of your sweat causes the body to cool down. Evaporation, expansion of gases, you should know this by now, that expansion of the gases cool the temperature of the area around it. So heaters you can create an analogy with shivering in the body. So the shivering is the increased amount of metabolism in the muscles around vital organs when you shiver. So that's the reason why you shiver, to warm up. Okay, so we're going to have a closer look at what happens when, one, it's too cold and your body needs to heat up. What's happening in the endocrine system? And two, what happens when it's too hot and your body needs to cool down? So the first thing that happens when it's really, really cold outside, receptors on the skin, they send messages to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus goes, hey, this is not right. The body's going to cool down too much. I'm going to send messages to the pituitary gland. In response to the hormones that are sent from the hypothalamus, you have the pituitary gland being the control center of the brain, of the body in terms of glands and the endocrine system, secretes a hormone called, and you should know this hormone for the test, thyroid stimulation hormone, TSH. So that hormone, that specific hormone, thyroid stimulation hormone, stimulates the thyroid. The thyroid is a gland that rests about here, just under the throat. This gland is very important for temperature regulation and a whole bunch of other different things. So it releases the hormone thyroxine. So that's another hormone. And we can start seeing that the endocrine system is made up of a succession of different hormones being released in the body and having different effects on different things. So the pituitary gland releases a hormone that affects the glands. That's its job. The gland releases thyroxine. Thyroxine travels through the blood. The whole body gets thyroxine flowing through all the circulatory system throughout your body, and causes the rate of metabolism in the cells to increase. So as you know, the rate of metabolism, or metabolism in the body, is the source of heat in the body. Once you've increased the metabolism in the body, it generates more heat and warms the body. Now, if you wanted to lose weight or anything, I wouldn't recommend going out into the cold. A lot of people do that, and you can actually lose weight by going out to the cold because your body increases its metabolism. But of course, there comes the problems of disease, getting a cold, getting a flu, and of course the negative effects of your body being overexpending its energy on these kinds of things. On the flip side, we have, in a situation where you've got too much heat, your body needs to get rid of it. The first thing your body does is senses it. Receptors in the skin sense this. They go, okay, the body's getting too hot. I need to release some of this energy. It's the hypothalamus picks this up from the sensory neurons that are in the skin, and the hypothalamus in this time stops sending hormones to the pituitary gland. So in this situation, it's sent more. In this situation, it stops or lowers the amount of hormones that it's sending to the pituitary gland. In direct response to that, the pituitary gland secretes less of that hormone that we heard about before, the thyroid stimulation hormone. The less thyroid stimulation hormone causes less of the hormone thyroxine to be released. Less thyroxine in the blood lowers the rate of metabolism in the body. And lower metabolism means less body heat is produced. So these are polar opposites of what's happening in the body. And it's all using the same system, the endocrine system. Now, water content, body water content. Why should we regulate body water levels? So for our cells to operate effectively, they need a certain amount of water in it. There's too little, it starts drying up. There's too much, cells can actually burst. So the job of the kidneys is to filter the blood, to absorb and reabsorb water from the blood, depending on how much water the body needs. So the blood supply is providing the water for the body, and the kidneys are in control of how much water is in the blood. Now, so in a similar situation, we've got in the homeostasis of water levels, we've got the hypothalamus detecting lower water levels in the body. The hypothalamus sends a message to the pituitary gland, which releases another hormone, a different one now, antidiuretic hormone, into the bloodstream. ADH is the abbreviation for that. ADH is a hormone that causes the kidneys to reabsorb water into the body. That's the effects that this hormone has. It affects the kidneys. The kidneys reabsorb water into the body. So the volume of water excreted in the urine decreases as a direct result of antidiuretic hormone having its an effect on the kidneys. So the volume of water excreted in the urine decreases. So the lower excretion of water and the increased consumption of water increases water levels in the body. So the lower you excrete, the lower gets removed from your body via the kidneys, and the more that you drink. And in this case, right at the start here, just a side note, the hypothalamus, when it sends a message to the pituitary gland, it also sends a neuronal message, a message not through hormones, but through neurons to the brain to tell it to stop salivating, to tell the salivary glands in the mouth to stop salivating. And when that happens, you feel thirsty. So there's multiple different things going on in your body. This is just one particular example of what happens. But the lower excretion of water and the increased consumption of water from thirst are the two things that maintain the homeostasis of water levels in the body. Okay, so quickly we're going to go over blood sugar levels. If your blood sugar glucose is too high, it can lead to heart attack and death. That's over extended periods. If your blood glucose is too low, it can lead to permanent brain damage. So down here we've got as your blood glucose, and if you stop eating for a week or so, it starts getting down to this area. You get seriously hungry, but you start getting convulsions. You could fall into a coma after a while if you don't get enough food. Lethargy, everyone's felt lethargic when they're hungry. Real lethargy is what comes just above the really serious side effects of low blood glucose. And you start getting permanent brain damage. Now, no one that we know or will ever meet has probably ever been at this level. It's really dangerous. It takes weeks to get to a stage where your body is so deficit of glucose that it gets to permanent brain damage, but it can happen, and it has happened before, and of course death finally. So let's have a closer look, and we're going to just look at this side here. We're going to look at what happens after you have a meal. You have a high glucose meal like a cookie or a couple cookies or a cake or something like that. You get huge amounts of blood glucose into your bloodstream. Now, the difference between this and the other endocrine responses is that the pancreas now responds. The pancreas is the one that detects the higher blood glucose. That releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin, this is a very important hormone to know the name of. A lot of people are diabetic in this world from overeating sugar, and they have insulin deficiencies. When the insulin is released into the bloodstream, this causes the liver, so this is the hormone having its effect on target cells. It causes the liver, fat cells, and muscles to take glucose from the bloodstream and store it in a form called glycogen. You will need to remember these words. Glycogen is the storage of fats and sugars. And once it's stored away, taken out of the bloodstream, it achieves normal glucose levels. Okay, so final slide, and I've only got 30 seconds to go through it, is the response to stress. When your nervous system responds to stress, it sends messages to the adrenal glands in your kidneys. These adrenal glands produce a hormone known as adrenaline, and the epinephrine causes your heart rate to increase and blood vessels to contract and air passages to dilate. This causes your body to be more alert and prepared for action in an emergency.